Hi, good day, and welcome to A Safe Space with Tori. On today's episode, we'll be touching on, again, some very sensitive topics. So if you need to skip or fast forward, you can do so now. I'm going to stress that you really need to take care of yourself. So that is my warning for right now. Today's guest is an officer that is in the Special Victims Department Division of the TTPS. I would like to welcome Mr. Seecharan. How are you?
Thank you very much, Tori, and thanks for having me on your podcast today. It's a pleasure to represent the Special Victim Department and by extension the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Can you please tell us, what is your role within the department and what exactly made you join the department?
Okay, so I think I should start off by just speaking a little bit about the Special Victims Department, right? So the Commissioner of Police, in his wisdom, and based on effective resource sharing, manpower distribution, as well as specialized training, and because of the increase in the amount of crimes perpetrated against children, and also the increase in crimes as it related to gender-based violence, made the strategic decision to regionalize the units, meaning the gender-based violence unit, as well as the child protection unit, into one unit, which is now referred to as the Special Victims Department. So now we are referred to as the Special Victim Department, which is one of the several units under the ambit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So we do reports as it relates to Child Protection Unit alongside the Gender-Based Violence Unit. On the personal note, I've been a police officer for approximately 27 years. And during my tenure, I would have worked at various divisions, branches, sections, as we say in the police service. My last posting prior to coming to the Special Victim Department was at the Financial Investigation Branch, where I got a lot of experience in investigation. As for me moving to the Special Victim Department, how it happens in the police service is sometimes decisions are made by the executive officers based on your training and skill set as to where you can best be suited. So a few years ago, I was transferred out of that unit to the Special Victim Department, and I believe it was because of my training in investigations and what they, the executive, thought I can bring to the unit, that I was moved to this unit to assist in the development of that unit. So I've been there for the past 3 years. I was transferred principally as an inspector, and within the last few years, I have been acting in the capacity of Assistant Superintendent, and that's my function currently as an Assistant Superintendent.
Okay, lovely. So like a day at work, how does that look like for you?
Right, so the day in the life of the Assistant Superintendent at the Special Victim Department, starts with your review of what we refer to as morning reports. So each of the regions will submit something that basically speaks of what occurred in that region for the past 24 hours as it relates to the movement of our officers, as well as what crimes came in and the action taken in relation to those crimes. So I will review those and see that the appropriate action was taken as it regards the crime. Of course, if there are any priority offenders or there are investigations that we deal of priority of importance, we would expedite those or have reports submitted as it relates to those. As an assistant superintendent, you also conduct lectures with the staff in terms of changes that may be occurring within the police service as it refers to laws, as it refers to investigative techniques. We would conduct audits from time to time as to what is happening within the units. A large portion of my time is spent reviewing case files that are submitted through the chain of command. And because, again, of rank structure and responsibility, based on the information contained and the evidence on the file, I will give instructions to prefer charges, or in some cases, the files are sent to the legal officer for further guidance, or even to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And of course, we monitor and evaluate performance, in terms of the day-to-day operations of the staff. But generally, it's really a hands-on communication you have with the line regional commanders, which are the inspectors, in terms of what is happening with the unit, so that because of this sensitive area where we work, and there are so many things happening, if called upon by any person from the executive to account what is happening with that report that I heard about in Grandy involving this child, we are in a position to report comprehensively as to what the unit has done in relation to the report, and more so what we intend to do. So, that about sums up, the daily life of an assistant superintendent at the Special Victim Department.
So, walk me through how it goes when a victim comes. Like, this scenario just took place. The victim is now coming into the station, be it, well, they would make the reports in a regular police station.
Yes.
Walk me through that process.
Right. So, for the purposes of our conversation, we could talk about different type of reports, meaning a victim being a child victim or a victim being an adult in the gender-based scenario, but nonetheless a victim, and it remains more or less the same. So the victim, accompanied by the informant, the parent, the guardian, the friend, whoever, would go to the police station and make a report based on what is reported to that police station. If it is something that warrants the attention of the Special Victim Department, a communication is sent to the Special Victim Department via telephone message in relation to what was reported.
Well, one thing I want to debunk a while is that, for a little bit, is that you could make that reports at any police station, right?
Certainly, we, the executive and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service have been saying this from day one. You can make a report to any police station in Trinidad and Tobago. It doesn't matter where the offense took place, where you lived. Even if something happened outside of this jurisdiction, you can make a report to any police station. The report will be received by the officer there, and officer, if he's not sure, guided by his senior officers, the report will be channeled to the appropriate district or department in order for the report to be actioned. So once the report is made to the police station, district, the officer will telephone the section and give the brief facts of what was reported, because sometimes based on the nature of the report, just a preliminary interview would be done, and they would not go into too much details because of the sensitivity of it and not wanting the victim to relive or regurgitate something twice that may be emotionally traumatizing, right? So they take the initial report, they send it to us, and we usually take phone contact if the victim is still there at the station. So we immediately contact the victim, or as soon as practical. Let me use that word. As soon as practical, an officer from the Special Victim Department will communicate with the informant or the victim, as the case may be. Once that communication is made, an arrangement will be made for that meeting to take place between our Special Victims Investigator along with the victim. Now, at the Special Victim Department, we make it a priority not for you to have to come to the station. We are coming to you. We want to ensure that you are comfortable. Now, in all practical sense, if you can come to the station, we appreciate that. It's easier for us. But if you say, for whatever reason, I came to the station, but I have to go back home to see about my kids, or I have to go to work, or have an appointment, we work with you when we can come to you to have that further information obtained. So we have met with you sometime thereafter. Sometimes it's the same day, sometimes it's another day. And we have listened to what you have said in relation to the report that you're making. Based on what is reported to us and the sensitivity of the matter, certain actions are taken immediately. And I want to digress and say, even at the level of the station, based on the interview done by the primary officer, certain actions are taken immediately. For instance, if the victim's life is in danger, if the victim needs some immediate help or intervention, if the victim needs to seek medical attention, for sure the station police is going to treat with that, right? And also we do the same. So we have interviewed you, and we realized there's some help that you needed. Sometimes it may be to take you to seek medical attention. It may be to consider the safety factor of children involved. It may be that you need the support of some counselors or someone to speak to before we engage you further. And this is where we refer to the Victim and Witness Support Unit, which is a dedicated unit within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service that comprises of civilians who are trained and qualified to treat with trauma and advise persons. And we also look at the factors like if you need a safe house, if you need a safe space. Depending on the report, it may be an urgent case where you need a protection order, and we guide you in that. So all these things take place in the initial stages before we even go into the length and breadth of taking that statement from you that outlines, because we need to give you that immediate assistance. Once those factors are covered and we're okay now, we continue now where we record the statement from you. So the statement is comprehensive. The investigator sits with you and listens to what you have to say, asks the pertinent question, and record a statement that outlines or constitutes what exactly happened that caused you to make this report, and what exactly is the concern that you have, that you want to share with the police, that you want something actioned about. Of course, after that, there will be follow-up with the investigative process. But,
I was just about that.
Yeah, so the investigative process starts now. So the victim has made a report of a particular offense that has occurred, and we have recorded a statement from him or her. She has identified witnesses. We identify these witnesses, and we meet with these witnesses, and we record statements once they're willing to do so. Maybe there is some documentary evidence based on the report, because it may be a report of an assault where an item was used to perpetrate an injury to the victim. We will seize these items for evidential purposes. Maybe the victim has photographed the injuries that he or she sustained, or we cause the injuries of the victim to be photograph. Maybe the scene has to be visited based on the nature of the report, where it occurred, and photographs need to be taken. We have the police photographer visit with us along with the victim and have the photographs taken from. So there's a evidential gathering process that obtains after the report is made. Once all the evidence is gathered, compounded with the victim's statement and any witness's statement, the investigator then now will submit that file. And I just want to say, submit the file doesn't necessarily mean to say it happens 2-3 days down the road. All these things can happen within the said days, again, based on the data report and the willingness of the victim to support the investigation in providing the information to move the investigation forward. So we have gathered the evidence, and if the threshold has been met, for meaning beyond the police is of the opinion that the evidence gathered is beyond a reasonable doubt, the instruction will be given to prefer the appropriate charges. Some cases also we consult with the legal officer or even the office of the Director of Public Prosecution for guidance on the particularities or the wording of the charges to be laid.
Okay. And through this whole process, gathering the information, being able to take the report from the victim, how do you all make sure that it isn't a re-traumatizing situation on that victim?
Right, so it's a good question, Tori, because, I mean, realistically speaking, it is a bit traumatic here, because we are asking the victim to relive an incident. We are asking the victim to go with us on the scene of something that happened, again, to relive what has happened.
To be honest, in most cases, it isn't as clear-cut. It probably persists for a year.
Yeah, each investigation is certainly unique, and sometimes, while we have the cases where in the first instance a victim comes forward and say, I am not taking this, and makes a report to the police, there are sometimes when we start the interview of this victim, realize although he or she has come to report a particular circumstance, after we recorded the statement based on the information gathered and based on the intent statement that we take, we have identified 3 or 4 counts of offenses. So you may come to us with a report that constitutes assault by beating. But when you have given the statement and you have spoken about something that happened on the 31st of May and something that happened on the 29th of April and something that happened on the 15th of March, after we finish our file, we are saying, no, there are 4 counts that this person can be charged for. Again, this is where the legal officer comes in and with the experience of the senior person in terms of reviewing the statements and making the proper decisions. But it is quite, it can be quite traumatic for the victim. So this is where our sister organization, department, unit, the victim and witness support really comes in handy, because we need the persons with that skill set to work with the victim, to explain what they're doing is in the best interest of them, to support them, to show that we have your back, you're doing the correct thing. This is where we offer the services of the safe house. This is where we refer to the issue of the protection orders so that they feel protected having taken the necessary action.
All right. And during that process, do you all have any kind of issues, any challenges where it pertains to like under-reporting? Because I know for some victims it's going to be very difficult to come out, or they would come out. They would initially say, well, nah, this is enough of this. I need something better. I need to move on and be a healthy person within the nation. But probably at first they will be thinking, I really think I need justice for this situation. But then afterwards, when they think it over and they think, okay, this is probably too much. How do you deal with people not wanting to report the issue?
Tori, that's a real live issue, because our unit, or the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, would depend on our data from the Crime and Problem Analysis Bureau, which is acronym CAPA, to guide us in terms of the resource allocation. So for instance, all the reports that comes into our end, particular forms are filled out and they're entered in a system, and that system will collate that data. And so you will see the press conferences, the Commissioner of Police and the Minister speaking about how many reports of so and so we have had for the past period. So too in our line of work in terms of as it relates to child protection issues and gender-based issues, we are guided by the data that we receive from CAPA. And that data, I must say, is what we send to them. So based on that, now we can look back and say, okay, of the 6 regions we have within Trinidad and Tobago, we do have the region in Tobago. This particular region appears to have the most amount of crime as it relates to cruelty to children or sexual penetration. However, in reality, sometimes that information is not the perfect picture, because it is going on reported crime and not necessarily crime that are perpetrated. So in terms of my experience in unit, what I've realized is there are some areas in the community where people are more inclined to report and some areas where they're not inclined to report. So I guess they either treat it their own way or they deal with it differently, but they don't report it to the police. Some people have faith and trust in the police and want justice from a policing point, and some people unfortunately feel that, well, I'm not going to make a report because for various reasons they're not going to get justice, they're going to take too long, I would just deal with this, shame on the family. So underreporting is a real concern, and it really affects us because it affects us in terms of managing and deploying our resources. Because certainly if we see there's a peak of a particular crime in an area, we would want to intensify our outreach and our approach to that area. Say, okay, why is this happening? Why are we getting so much reports here? What can we do differently? Do we need to reach out to the school? Do we need to start at that level? Should we reach out to the NGOs in the area? Should we talk to the community groups? Do we need to get involved in the community councils in the area to get a voice in, to tell them about what we have to offer? It also impacts the victim in terms of seeking justice also, because if the statistics are showing the crime is low here and the victim is one who's from that area, say, well, I have suffered here and apparently nobody recognizes this area seems to be quite safe. We're not even talking. So it affects the victim, and most troublesome, it affects the offender, because he or she has that level of impunity, because he's a perpetrator, he lives in there, and we, the country, is saying that the crime is low, or the reports of this particular nature is low, and he's a perpetrator living in that area. That may empower him or her to stay in that area because I can get away with what I want. So underreporting really does affect the effective management of these type of investigation and, of course, the successes.
I understand. What are some ways in which you think there is some change to be had in the legal system and how it handles with these cases?
The legal system. This is a serious one. What we can do with the legal system? Tori, there are many stakeholders in this process. It's not just about the police alone. So the police work hand in hand with the Ministry of Health because we need medical reports. We work hand in hand with Children's Authority where so needed. We work hand in hand with the Gender Affairs Unit. We work hand in hand with the judiciary in terms of the issuance of protection orders and so forth. So we really need all players to be on board. I really need all persons to understand the gravity of the situation in order for things to be actioned appropriately and expeditiously. So a victim comes to us today, and based on what he or she has outlined, we are able on that same day to make an application to the court to get a protection order. So she leaves house that day and makes a report, and when she goes home in the evening, there's an order which is served by the police restricting the other person from entering that house. Get your clothes and move out. So he or she, that victim, is seeing immediate assistance, right? The medical reports, many a times, unfortunately, we wait sometimes long periods for medical reports. The victim goes to get to the hospital, the health institution. They need to go to a government facility. They are attended to, and we have problems in getting the medical because for various reasons. That also delays the process. So we really need that multidisciplinary approach where everybody understands their roles and responsibility and is able to treat with the issues at hand. Also in terms of legislative framework, there are some little issues that we are trying to iron out. For instance, we still have in our law books the term child pornography. But in the international realm of things, you will see they're referring to something called CSAM, C-S-A-M. With the acronym stands for Child Sexual Abuse Material, which when you understand what it obtains, it's more appropriate and actually should be fitted in there so that the prosecution-wise now, in terms of the legislative framework we're in place, so we also need those type of empowerment and persons pushing that mantra so that we in a proper frame of space as it relates to legislative framework.
I understand. And when it deals with male, having men report their accounts of sexual abuse, I know for one that there is a misconception that, not really a misconception because it happens sometimes where some men are actually turned away by officers or laughed at or like, oh, are you talking about you were sexually abused? What? So how do you navigate that in your division?
It's a little touchy one because as we spoke about earlier, in most instances, the primary report is made to the station district. But I would say on the flip side, within recent times, the last few years, we have had a lot of more walking directly to the unit. But yes, generally, it is made at the police station district. So from a general policing perspective, what I can say is that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has really ramped up its effort to train our officers in terms of customer service. And that goes from simply how to properly answer the phone, in terms of, and more particularly, how to speak to persons and how to engage person reporting. So for instance, some time ago, you would go to the stations and the officer may be behind the counter and you on the other side of the counter and you reporting to him about some accident occurred and there's this conversation that is taking place that somebody in the other room might be able to hear. What we are empowering the officers now is that we're going to take it down a little bit. We're going to walk up to the counter. Yes, you want to make a report and so on. So we find that little space which is provided in each station now where there may be a cubicle area or a partition off area where we can sit now and have direct contact with the person, engage this person on what is happening. If the information is sensitive that needs to be addressed by a particular unit, well, as I would have outlined before, we engage you. But we're really trying, the executive, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is really trying, and in terms of educating our officers, in terms of customer service and sensitivity of investigation. On the other side, which is at the special victim department, our investigations are done very, very in terms of sensitivity, in terms of the interaction with the officers, the one-on-one interaction, in terms of the movement of the files and things. There are procedures internally that we put in place to ensure that persons' rights are, are afforded, and persons feel comfortable saying what they came to say, knowing that it's not going to go out there in the media or out there.
Yeah, I feel like that is very important for men to know that they do have that.
Although it's in the minority, we do have many reports where men are victims of crime. I know of many protection orders that were taken out by men, and I can speak of a few. Well, I wouldn't speak of it, but I'm privileged to a few where the perpetrator, meaning the female, was arrested and charged for breach of protection order. And the interesting thing about protection orders is that the conditions of the order could simply be not to use abusive language in the presence, no obscene language, not within 100 feet. So you can live in the same house as someone and have a protection order enforced. Quite interesting, eh? Yeah. Again, these are things that the society and the country has recognized as ways of protecting our victim. You can still live together, You can still be in a cohabitual relationship, but you're not engaged in this type of contact, because if you do, there are consequences.
That's like, that's putting up boundaries. So, what advice do you have for parents? Like, what are some things they can look out for when it comes to protecting their minors, protecting their kids, their children?
In terms of looking out for the signs of abuse, is that what we're looking at? I would say look for a child that is very irritable. That might be a sign of abuse. A lack of supervision, a child who maintains lack of supervision, wants to do their own thing. Look for persons who appear depressed. They're not in their good space. They have a lack of confidence in themselves, very withdrawn. Look for changes in behavior, changes to the norm. What is happening differently? Those are some of the things you could look for as a parent in terms, and again, sometimes as parents, it's so easy to do research now and get these things there. You see something out, but again, it's about understanding and connecting with your child, knowing your child. You must be able to recognize when something is off, something is just not making sense. Why is he or she behaving so? Why are they uncomfortable? Why do they not want to go to school? Why is it that they don't want to go with this taxi driver anymore? These are the little things you have to pay attention to. Sometimes we have to take ourselves from our duties and responsibilities and remember that we are parents, and it's not about work, and it's not about the job, and it's not about doing things for our boss and getting deadlines met, but what is happening in our own home circle.
Exactly. But some people will say, like, okay, why speak up? Why be traumatized? Why go through all of that problems? Like, sometimes for victim, the perpetrator might be somebody who they rely on entirely, who they rely on financially.
So we have victims who are housewives, who rely on the husband for everything. We have victims who are children who rely on the uncle, the stepfather, the mother's friend who lives with them. So it is a challenge. And it takes a lot from our victims. And in the case of the victims, I want to commend the parents in the case of the child victim, because the child may not be able to, but the parent who takes it upon himself to bring that child to make the report to have the issue dealt with. Because the parent could say, I can deal with it myself. I could ask the person to leave the house. I could ignore this report and tell my child, relax yourself and don't worry, things will be better. But there are the parents who say, no, I will bring this to the attention of the police. I want justice. And speaking up for the parent, for the victim is always difficult. It is challenging, right? Because again, you're relying on that person who you're coming to report. You're asking the police to do something. You're going to cause conflict in the house. You're going to cause bacchanal because the police is going to come and talk to him, and he's going to know that you went and talked to him. So it takes a lot for the parent and the guardian to step it up and come out. But sometimes these stories need to be told. right? You have to think about the safety of yourself, in the case if you're the victim, the safety of your child. Sometimes when the survivor experiences being listened to and being engaged by the professional, it gives them that power to trust someone. You understand? They need that professional, and they just need the professional assistance, right?
Because sometimes the trauma is buried so far in the furthest region of your mind that it will come up at some point in time.
Tori, we have had parents who brought in children who have been abused in some form or fashion. And when you're speaking with the parent, because you have to engage the parent also when we're dealing with these matters, and the parent will account when they were small, something happened. And it's so traumatic for them because they went through these things and they all wanted better for their children. And here it is, they're in a situation now where their children is experiencing the same sort of abuse. And for those parents who have come forward, I say kudos to them, because it says that, hey, they recognize that, hey, I didn't get help. Nobody helped me. But I'm in a position now, I'm going to get help for my child. I am going to get justice for my child. So there's no easy way. It's really hard for the parents, but kudos to them. It's just for to know that there is support. Think about the bigger picture. Think about justice for your child. Think about justice for yourself. Think about closure. Think about the psychological effects of treating with the report, getting closure for yourself, moving on with your life. Because you have to ask yourself, if I don't report this, is he going to do it to someone else? Is it going to stop? Is my life going to get better? Will it happen again? And if those things are no, then you need to step up and do something. As hard as it is, you need to step up and do something. So it is a hard thing for parents. It is a hard thing for victims to do.
What are some advice, what are some things you'd want our viewers to walk away with at the end of this interview? Victims of trauma or people supporting them?
To the survivors, I want the survivors to know that there is help out there. There is help out there. There are persons who are engaged and who are in contact with a network of persons who can provide help. The police primarily, because as law enforcement, they engage the police for justice. But the police, based on our network, the victim and witness support, the ministries, the different social services, family planning, the Families in Action, we have sources that are there, can help you and assist you. So we just need to feel empowered to come to us. To the person supporting the survivor, sometimes all you have to do is listen. I don't expect persons who support him to know what to say. Nothing is wrong with you not knowing what to say. But just listening could provide that really support that they need. And sometimes in listening, you might know what to say, but you may be able to point that victim in a direction where they can get help. You may be able to just accompany them, go with them in the station to get some support so they feel they're not alone. Not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do is normal and it's okay. That's okay. Nobody knows. Not everybody knows. But just knowing that you're listening could help that victim. Just talking could help that victim. The Special Victim Department, Tori, is not just about investigation. I want to make that clear. The Special Victim Department is not just about investigation, investigating crime. The Special Victim is about protecting the dignity of persons. The Special Victim is about restoring hope. And the Special Victim is about helping that individual take control or get back in control of their life.
I know we might have some viewers who are like, okay, but I don't think that would be sexual abuse because I willingly went to that man's house. Even though I said no over and over again, he still persisted, but I put myself in that situation. What would you say to them? Is it so clear-cut?
No, if there are situations like that, right? Because the victim questions themselves. They say, well, okay, I didn't want to engage in that sexual activity with him, but he bought me food, and we had it together. We went for a drive. We went home. He asked me to come inside, and I went inside. We sat on the couch. He kissed me, and I kissed him back. But what victims have to understand, or just need to have in the back of their head, is that they're in control. And if they say no to something, it's no. And sometimes it's not just the words, but the action that constitutes. So even though someone may not use the word no during the sexual act, but based on the circumstance, they would have submitted themselves because of duress, because of fear, because of what they felt the person was capable of, because if I don't do this, it's going to get worse. It happens. And I'm saying to these victims, just come forward, engage us. We will edify you. We will share our story with you. We will put you in that part. We will get the counseling for you. We will show you that once you're uncomfortable, once you feel that what happened should not have happened to you, you have a report, you come into us and we will address it. We will guide you. We will help you.
Okay. Well, this has been a very informative episode. I really thank you for your presence and being here. Also, again, I know these topics are extremely sensitive. I myself have been through sexual abuse as a child, as a teenager, my teenage years. So this is very important for me to create this platform to provide that information for people, because I realize a lot of people are misinformed. And a lot of women, a lot of victims don't understand that they have power as well, and there's a lot of power to be taken back by going through the judicial system and actually riding the wave and making sure that the perpetrator is put behind bars, because we don't want this situation happening again and again and again. And there is the issue of generational curses that exists within our society. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And I just want to leave on the note that remember, the police service is always transforming, just like our lives are transforming. And the police service we knew 20, 30 years ago, it's a different police service now. It's more engaging. And we do have units, as I started the conversation, that in the wisdom of the hierarchy were created to deal specifically with it. Because traditionally, these things were treated as husband and wife business. They all go sort that out. They come and make a report and sort of. It's not like that anymore. There is help out there for persons. We have qualified persons, trained officers to assist. We just ask you to engage us, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, you don't have to go through this alone.
No, you're not alone. There are so many helps, so many systems out there now. But just talk to somebody. Yeah, watch your podcast. Yeah, get some information.
Well, thank you for our episode today. I really want to try to be able to do like a panel of males and females where we can talk about these exact issues. If you think you're okay for that, just hit me up, message me, leave a comment, anything. And have a good day. Thank you.